What's going on, everybody? Along with Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune, I am Mark Grote of The Score. Day 2 of the draft. Let's get you caught up on everything. You know what happened in the first round for the Bears as they drafted Colston Loveland, the tight end out of Michigan. Here is how it went down, though, for the Bears in the second round. In the second round, number 39 overall, the Bears selected a wide receiver. They go with Luther Burden III out of Missouri. We'll break it all down here in a second. The Bears then traded numbers 41, 72, and 240 to the Buffalo Bills for 56, 62, and 109. I will make that I will simplify that for you. The Bears added a second-round pick, meaning the Bears have 3 second-round picks altogether. They have a 4th rounder, a 5th rounder, and a 7th rounder as well. With another one of the second rounders, number 56 overall, the Bears drafted an offensive tackle out of BCU, Azie Trapillo, 6'8", 316. Again, we'll get into it with him. With their other second-round pick, the third of 3 second-round picks at number 62 overall, the Bears finally go defense. They take defensive tackle Shemar Turner out of Texas Tech, 6'3", 290 pounds, played 3 technique, that role as a senior, but pretty much played everywhere along the line. So those are the players the Bears got in the second round. Dan Wiederer is out at Haugh. I hosted our draft coverage in downtown Chicago, so that's where I am right now. Dan, let's start at the top here, and Luther Burden III in the second round. What did you think about that pick?
Well, look, I mean, that is the quintessential example of best player available, right? And that's how the Bears are going to explain that, because that certainly isn't a position of need at this point. And that was one position that we thought that the Bears could practically not draft in this weekend's proceedings and feel okay about it. And yet they said they let the board speak to them, and their board spoke loudly and said, take Luther Burden III. If you remember, back during the Bonanza show, which seems like it was about 6 months ago now,
Seriously.
we talked up Luther Burden as a day 2 pick that could be very intriguing because of how explosive he was, particularly in 2023 at Missouri when he had such a huge season. The production dipped a little bit in 2024, even with the same quarterback, even with the same coordinator and play caller. And so you have some questions about why that production dipped a little bit. But this is a guy who's explosive with the football in his hands. You can hand it to him. You can throw it to him on little screens. You can get him open over the middle. The Bears tonight gave an indication that they believe he can play outside more than he was asked to play at Missouri as well. And so, look, I asked Ryan Poles at the end of tonight, obviously a good problem to have, but that's a lot of mouths to feed in this offense. And so I think one of the things that will challenge Ben Johnson as a first-time head coach is creating happiness amongst all these skills guys who are used to having the ball come their way a lot. It's DJ, it's Rome, it's Cole, it's Colston Loveland, it's now Luther Burden III. DeAndre Swift will be in that mix, and maybe they add another running back tomorrow on Saturday of the draft. But that to me it was a luxury pick for sure. It introduces, like I say, a good problem to have, but certainly a dynamic that you have to be aware of as you go forward.
Yeah, I was surprised that they took a wide receiver with that pick, number 39 overall. But then when you think about it, it's like that. It sounds ridiculous if you're one who has covered the Bears, watched the Bears, been a fan of the Bears, been a reporter for the Bears. It's ridiculous to even utter the words, "We're good. We got enough offense. We've got Rome Odunze, we've got DJ Moore, we've got Colston Loveland, we've got Cole Kmet." That's an insane way to think if you know what this franchise has been all about for years. And I'll have a great nuggets on Bears offense towards the end of the show today. I thought it was interesting that Ryan Poles said yes, Burden was at the top of their board. He said his run after the catch is special. I think he used the word elite as well. Size-wise, think DJ Moore, maybe a little bit bigger, but 6 feet tall, 206 pounds. Dan mentioned the numbers dipped a little bit last year, 61 catches, 676 yards altogether, 6 touchdowns, a 3-year starter at Missouri. It was interesting listening to Luther. I got the feeling that maybe I'm hoping it's a chip on the shoulder because it was almost like he was stunned that he was with the Bears. Do you think that he thought that he should have been a first-round pick? Because it was strange listening to him that it almost seemed like he was unhappy while he was talking to reporters.
Well, I think maybe both sides expected him to be a first-round pick, which is why the level of pre-draft contact wasn't where it might have otherwise been. It sounded like there was minimal contact between the two sides during the pre-draft process. Chip on shoulder, very good description, I think, for Luther Burden right now. He was agitated when Thursday night ended and he was still available, and agitated so much that he went to the Missouri football facility and did a workout and told us tonight that he had his girlfriend feeding the jugs machine so that he could catch footballs after night one of the draft in which he was not selected. And so I think there is going to be an edge that he brings to the table. I also found it interesting tonight to hear from Breck Ackley in the Bears front office talking about the need for Luther to kind of refine his route running and to add some detail and nuance to that. The Bears feel very confident in this coaching staff, as we've talked about now for weeks. And I think they are excited to take a guy who has so much within his athletic skill set and his profile as a receiver, and pair him with Antoine Randall, who they think is going to be a really good influence on getting him to understand what route running at the NFL level needs to look like. So that's an example where you have trust in your coaching staff to take a guy with a ton of talent, but some deficiencies, and put them together and see what kind of magic they can make happen.
Yeah, and let's not forget, Keenan Allen's gone from this team. Caleb Williams had a ton of comfort with him, said he's the best wide receiver he's ever worked with, albeit, he's young. His career has not been very long. So there was, although you're right, it's a luxury pick where they took him probably, but they probably needed another wide receiver to go along with DJ Moore. And, we talked about this a little bit on the draft show we did on the Score. Rome Odunze's got to take the jump. It was a typical sort of rookie-esque year for Rome last year, up and down. There's every reason to believe that he's still going to be a really good player, but you got a little bit of a backup here in Luther Burden. And I can't wait to see how Ben Johnson and Declan Doyle and all these guys start to put these pieces into place and how much we actually see these guys on the field. With the Bears' second round pick, again, 56th overall, the Bears go with the Boston College offensive tackle, Azie Trapillo, 6'8", 316. Now, the interesting part about Trapillo is that he has played more right tackle than left tackle in his college career, although, just listening to him, he worked at all positions, as he said, except for center. I can't call it right now, Dan, on this guy, like what they have, what specifically the Bears have in mind for him. I mean, the best I got out of polls listening to you guys question him out at Hallis Hall, that he's a reliable player right away. I don't know what that means. Is he reliable in any spot, or is he actually going to compete for a position on the offensive line? I'm a little confused on this one.
The adjectives reliable and dependable came up a lot when the folks here at Hallis Hall were talking about Ozzy. Not a guy that makes a lot of mistakes. He's not a real penalty-filled player as an offensive lineman.
0 penalties last year, right?
Pretty good thing to have on your resume, right? Yeah. Like if you can translate that to the NFL level, it'll be very attractive. There's a possibility that he's a backup for you. He has got the versatility to play guard if you need him to. Yeah. Obviously, he's going to be on the roster. You don't take second-round picks and then launch them. And so you've just got to figure out what works for you. And it goes back to the question that we talked about earlier in the week on how flexible they will be with the position that Darnell Wright plays. And so that's why our eyes are going to be important here when we get into OTAs and minicamp and then the early stages of training camp to figure out how they're mixing and matching guys and trying to make that offensive line as strong as it can possibly be, because we've documented how uncertain things are on the left side of that offensive line. And if Trapillo can fit into that conversation, remember a couple of years ago, we walked out of draft weekend with no idea that Braxton Jones would be the starting left tackle. And then lo and behold, there he was. And so that was a 5th round pick that they turned into a starter by the start of training camp pretty much. And so maybe the 2nd round pick wins that role here pretty quickly. It seems like a kid who's been doing this for a long time, comes from good bloodlines. His dad played in the NFL for a little while. We learned tonight that Azie Trapillo's dad played at Boston College with Ryan Poles' dad. So that's a nice little nugget to throw out there. Really interesting to see kind of how that offensive line takes shape and honestly what it means for Darnell Wright, because I think that door was certainly left ajar the other day, and we'll see if it opens anymore.
Yeah, and yeah, the idea that Darnell Wright could move to left tackle and Azie Trapillo, who again, like you said, has been, even said like right now he's more comfortable at right tackle because that's where he's been practicing for the last year. But he made a big point of saying that he did play left tackle. He's played all positions. He started his career at guard because it was the fastest way onto the field. So he's definitely got the right attitude. But stand by for Azie Trapillo and what becomes with him. It's fascinating to think about this stuff. The third second-round pick that the Bears selected, again, number 62 overall. They go defense. They had to go defense somewhere along the line here, and they take the defensive tackle, Shamar Turner, out of Texas Tech. So this guy was great to listen to. I did catch you guys talking to him on the conference call. At the famous line here, I think it was Dane Brugler said, quote, "Adrenaline is overflowing and compete skills border on reckless." I mean, Texas A&M. I said Texas Tech. Texas A&M is where he went to school. I apologize for that. But he seems like a fascinating character. Has he met Grady Jarrett yet? Because, oh my God, these two guys are just balls of energy.
Juice. Those are two juice guys. It was really fun tonight, Grody. There's 3 different Zoom calls that we were a part of, and they were 3 very different Zoom calls. Luther Burden, the most subdued of the 3. Azie Trapillo, we hung up that call and said, boy, that was a pleasant young man that we just got to meet. And then Shamar, you got to get me straight with these Texas A&M Shamars, because we talked about Shamar Stewart for so long that I was writing it wrong for the first hour tonight. Shamar Turner came onto his Zoom, and you just talk about a high energy guy. You can understand why that's infectious and why that's attractive to a Bears team that's trying to become a little bit more energized up front. The adjective attached to his game, violent. That came up repeatedly, and so this is a guy who plays with violence, who has a tenacity about him, who has high energy about him, and is going to add some teeth to your defensive line. Now, listen, he has experience playing on the edge. They moved him into the interior at Texas A&M, and he bulked up a little bit to do so. Also had a stress fracture that he played kind of with and through a little bit last season, had a rod inserted before the year, played through it, but then just in order to get the bone to fully heal, had to pull out of the Senior Bowl. Ryan Poles said tonight that it was very reassuring to the Bears when they saw him work out at his pro day and go through a very, very intense pro day and handle it pretty well. But something to keep an eye on and file away on the back of your brain, just as we're going to keep an eye on Colston Loveland's shoulder. We're going to keep an eye on how Shamar Turner.
God, dude, I did it on the score. I did it on the score, man. I actually started reading out of Shamar Stewart's bio when
confusing us down there.
Turner came up from Texas A&M.
Yeah. So that'll be fascinating. But man, like, this is a guy who had 7 personal foul penalties last year. High profile ejection from a game against Ole Miss when he we're gonna have to play this and listen to this next week, the way Herb Howard asked him the question about punching a Rebels offensive lineman where you don't want to get punched, right there between the legs. And so Shamar Turner is going to have to be able to play with an edge without going over the line and creating problems, right? And not being able to harness that tenacity that he has. He seems eager to try to do so. And Trey Koziel here from the Bears front office tonight said, I with defensive linemen, you would much rather say whoa than go. And I thought that was a good way to phrase it, where you want to be able to pull a guy back rather than have to try to encourage him to play with more energy and more violence.
He said he wants to take people's lunch money. So that's the
he followed it up with something like, because offensive linemen, they ain't worth anything anyway.
Oh, he's going to be a doozy. And you're right, man. He ain't going anywhere. He's a second rounder, so expect him to be around a while. I mean, he seems like a perfect rotation type of guy. I mean, I don't know how much you're going to see him on the field like at the beginnings of games, but I mean, you put that guy in as a rotation. This is a little bit, I don't know if it's say like if Zach Pickens has anything to do with this, but the Pickens is leaning towards being a disappointment. You add him to Andrew Billings and Javon Dexter and Dayo Odangbo, obviously, and Montez Sweat. You're starting to get those those different lines lined up along the DL, which is obviously the name of the game. And we all saw what Philadelphia was able to do this year in terms of not blitzing and getting to the quarterback. That's what Dennis Allen wants to do, and he's talked about that. And this is a start to that process as well. So Shamar Stewart is now see I did it. Shamar Turner.
We're screwed with this. We are totally screwed with this.
Well, we're working through it on this particular podcast. So that's what went down with the players. I don't know what you were thinking watching. Like, it seemed like when round 2 began, it was lining up perfectly for what we all thought was going to happen, and that the Bears were going to take a running back. But all of a sudden, Quinshon Judkins goes off the board to Cleveland. Travion Henderson of Ohio State ends up going to the Patriots. I think your guy, Harvey, he ended up going somewhere. He did get drafted.
Denver, perhaps?
I think it might have been Denver. But they did not go running back. The Bears still have picks tomorrow in the 4th round at 109, 5th round 148, 7th round 233. Don't they have to get a running back still, or are we starting to think that maybe Ben Johnson can work his magic with DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson, or maybe likes those guys even more than we know? Because it's a little bit surprising that they haven't gone that direction yet, considering how important the running back spot was to Detroit, was to him in Detroit.
Yeah, you're talking about running back, you're talking about edge, you're talking about safety. That hasn't been addressed yet. I was personally kind of keeping tabs on Xavier Watts, a safety from Notre Dame that we talked about as being an option for the Bears. He went off the board late tonight, so he's not available. When you look at the backfield guys that are still out there, the Plinko chips, Cam Scatterbo still available if the Bears want to pounce early on Saturday. You've got Dylan Sampson from Tennessee, Jordan James from Oregon, Trevor Etienne, Jaden Blue is another guy down the list there as a day 3 pick that could be intriguing just because he's so full of home run speed and can be kind of an electric pass catcher for you. I'd be interested to know if there's any attraction there. Certainly some good options there. We talked about this being a deep and plentiful running back class. It's going to be interesting to see if they decide to dip into that on Saturday, or if they've just let the board talk to them. And sometimes the board says things to you that you weren't expecting it to say. It's kind of like a wife. And so like you got to listen to what it says and then follow its orders.
Yeah. So the Bears are they are doing it their way and just kind of keeping all of us just a little bit off balance. But as soon as the picks are in and you get past the surprise, they all seem to make sense. There's not been one moment throughout this draft so far where I've been like, what the hell are they thinking here? Glad they got
some line reinforcement here before tonight ended. You're right. Like, you go tight end and wide receiver and you're like, okay, well, just make sure you know what the priority here is about beefing up both of your lines. And to their credit, they were able to get that done. And now we'll see how the development of those 2 prospects go.
Yeah, it's not just getting to the quarterback. I understand that we justifiably obsess over that, but there was too many big time explosive runs from running backs last year against this defensive line, and the linebacker level as well takes some blame for that too. So these are things to keep in mind. That the nugget that I was just looking at here from our friend Judson Richards, who was part of our Score draft coverage, he noted to me that this is the first time in the common draft era since 1967, that's when the common draft era began, that the Bears have selected 2 pass catchers with their first 2 picks. I mean, doesn't that say everything, Dan, about the past and about the present?
And about the present, for sure, with the offensive mastermind who's eager to get his hands on some of these guys and to make it all sing and make it all come together. It's so interesting, Grote, because on weekends like this, it just feels like every day lasts an eternity, and so like today we actually met Colston Loveland for the first time at Hallis Hall, and so you've got this kid who flies in from Idaho and he's exposed to the Chicago market pretty quickly, and we get to learn a little bit more about his background. And I don't know what you made of today's proceeding with Colston, but you get to learn that he, as a grade schooler, he was participating in rodeos there in Idaho. He was branding calves and putting up barbed wire fences and other things that have made him country strong and Idaho tough. And
sounds
we'll see
like
how
it
that
too.
translates, right?
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely got the sound for sure. Yeah, no, these are These are really long days. I'm noticing here too that your colleague Brad Biggs noted tonight that this is the first time the Bears have had 3 picks in the second round, and we do know because the Bears like to tell us they have had some success in the second round. So for the Bears,
and they got out of the third round, which is their bugaboo, right? So they're just like, screw the third round. Let's get these guys in the second round and see if that makes a difference.
Yeah, and I'm sure you just got this text as well. I mean, we are being told that we will get to meet. You mentioned getting to meet Colston Loveland. I actually will be at Haugh on Saturday, so we're going to get to meet Luther Burden the third,
Okay.
Azie Trapillo, and Shemar Turner. Looks like we're going to get to meet all of those guys tomorrow, so that'll be fun. And like we just said, 4th round pick, 5th round pick, and 7th round pick. What are the chances that stays? I got a feeling there could be some more. I mean, we see it seems like all the time once they get to those later rounds, especially the 7th, there could be some more wheeling and dealing. I don't know how consequential it's going to be, but I imagine that things will definitely, get messed around a little bit.
Yeah, and Ryan hinted tonight that obviously they're going to look at the board. They're going to see what the players look like. They're going to pick much earlier on day 3 than we were anticipating because of that trade earlier today. They go on, I think, with the 7th pick of Saturday, number 109 overall, and that gets things going. If they decide that it's really deep there and they can move around and move back and add some more draft capital for whatever reasons they need to, if they feel like they really need a running back, still also need to address the edge position, still also need to grab a safety. Maybe they do add picks and start to take a few more swings on day 3. We'll just have to watch how that unfolds, but certainly they've been active here.
Yeah.
And we talked about that collection of 4 players being kind of what this draft was going to be defined by. I think you look at it out of the gates and you go, okay, like this is in Ben we trust draft, right? You give them 2 weapons and you give Caleb Williams 2 weapons and you say, man, like Caleb, like I don't know. I don't want to be redundant with the things we were saying a year ago, but you talk about all of the things they have done to upgrade the talent around him since last season ended. And you're just like, man, like this should certainly be a staircase, if not an escalator in his development this year.
I would certainly like to think so. And our producer, Adam Stadzinski, is on Cam Scadaboo. He says round 4 or bust. And I know that you mentioned him as well. But I don't know. I just got a weird feeling about it. I mean, I feel like I know that they need one, but it just keeps getting passed up.
And then maybe they just wait till round 7 and they take some guy we've never heard of. And then you and I are here on Monday talking about, let me just grab one for you. We're talking about Corey Kiner from Cincinnati.
All right. Well, I'm gonna get out of here right now and go do my homework on Corey Kiner. Dan, I'm looking forward to seeing you out at Haugh on Saturday and continuing to talk to our great audience here on the Take the North. We appreciate all the love that we've been getting on this here podcast. So let's call it for tonight, but we'll be right back on it tomorrow. For Dan Wiederer of the Chicago Tribune, I am Mark Grote of Chicago Sports Radio 670 The Score. For our producer, Adam Stadzinski, thank you so much for watching and listening to the Take the North podcast.
Great talk. See you out there.